Tyler Oliveira is an independent YouTube news journalist, or at least that's how he would like you to think of him. Vince Vintage recently called him out in a video for lying, and the primary way that Tyler lies in his videos is by using footage from cities other than those that he's documented to demonstrate the problems that he's overviewing in his videos. The classic example was his Haitians eating cats in Ohio. He asked some very leading questions and didn't seem to be looking for both sides of it. But when he was called out for this, in his response video, he said, "What are you talking about? I asked all of these other questions that show how unbiased I am, how I'm looking for both sides." And as far as I'm aware, Papa Gut was the one who originally recognized this in Tyler's video. He was using footage from a completely different video and acting as if it was from the same video. Well, Vince Vintage had a problem with that, and he's responded.
So recently I made a video about Tyler Oliveira, a so-called YouTuber journalist, and my video was exposing Tyler's lies. Now, Tyler, in response to this, made a whole expose debunking my original video about him. And I just wanted to clear the air on some of the things Tyler said. Now, what would be the last thing Tyler would want to do in his own response to being called out as a liar? Probably lie again. But somehow Tyler just
You would think maybe somebody with standards might do that, but I don't know about Tyler.
can't even help himself from even doing that. Now, in the end of Tyler's video, his big gotcha moment, the one that's really supposed to show how I am just a deceptive liar who tried to make Tyler seem as horrible and as racist as possible, Tyler says this.
In his video, he mostly spends time looking at my video where I went to Springfield, Ohio, when Twitter was in uproar trying to figure out if the Haitians in Springfield were actually eating cats. Point being, Vince only shows interviews in his video that make it appear as if I'm co-signing racist ideas, wild beliefs, etc., etc.
So
Almost as if that's really all that was in the video. Crazy.
I made a montage from one of Tyler's videos of him asking the same question, are the Haitians eating the cats, over and over and over. And my whole point was to show that Tyler
Oh, this woman here. This woman was utterly terrifying. Right here, he asks her, "I've heard stories about Haitians driving around in vans and picking up cats to eat them. Is that true?" And she says, "Yes, my mom saw a post about that on Facebook." How many times removed from the original source can you be and still be so confident that that's going on? You didn't even see the Facebook post that may or may not be true. Somebody else supposedly saw it, and that's enough for you to report it as fact to some guy who has millions of subs. It is wild to me.
that Tyler asked baseless questions with no evidence and almost spreads them on as if they were truth. Now, Tyler shows some other questions that he asked from that same video, and Tyler makes it very clear that he asked more questions than just are the Haitians eating the cats.
Point being, Vince will selectively only show you one side of the groups of people I interview and not show you the others.
How did you get here to Charleroi?
Now that all the immigrants have gotten here, guess what? When you're getting new stoplights,
Say hello, they'll smile to you. I don't know how many times I still sleep with my doors open.
Nobody's eating dogs and cats there. The Haitians aren't bothering us.
Ironically, we may have found the most accepting, loving town in America.
Now, Tyler shows all of these clips of actually good journalistic questions being asked.
So I ask you, how can I both co-sign this answer and this answer in the same video?
I heard there were rumors of Haitians eating the neighbors' cats.
we've lost a whole bunch of cats.
Haïtien vient ici pour travailler, mais manger chaque, non.
Or is it possible in these videos that I'm actually trying to get answers from both sides of a given question?
And Tyler says these are from the same video. He makes it very clear. He even puts it in text on the video.
So I ask you, how can I both co-sign this answer and this answer in the same video?
And this is Tyler's big gotcha moment. These other questions that I hid out from my original video, Tyler showing them right now. And it's really supposed to show how I really deceptively clip-chimped my video to make Tyler seem as horrible as possible.
And this stuff with the asterisk from original YouTube upload, Tyler put that in his video. That's not Vince doing that. Tyler put that in his video.
But all of these clips that Tyler shows are from a completely different video that Tyler
So look at this. The Haitian cat eating video was uploaded 4 months ago from the time these screenshots were taken. The video that the same video was a month later. It's just over the top dishonest. And the whole point of Vince Vintage's video was that Tyler dishonestly frames things. And this is how he responds to it, by just completely lying, fabricating what was in this video. And I don't know if Vince Vintage would have noticed this on himself. I'm pretty sure Papa Gut is the one that discovered this because he had just happened to watch the video fairly recently. So if that's the case, big shout outs to Papa Gut. But just utterly insane that he's accused of lying, and in response, he completely fabricates what happened, lies, and shows footage from another video as if that makes the one video balanced. It's insane.
Tyler spliced together to make himself look good, because Tyler didn't have anything to say in response to that. So Tyler, in his own response to being called out as a liar, can't stop lying. You literally can't make this up. All of these questions Tyler shows
You could make it up. A liar lies. Very believable. Very believable.
as his big gotcha moment. They're from a video.
Even if I just said it's crazy or whatever, like it's the blatantness of it is what's crazy, but the fact that a liar would double down on their lies is not at all crazy.
Tyler uploaded weeks later from a completely different upload, and Tyler spliced them together and thought no one would notice. And I think this kind of proves the whole point of my original video. Tyler splices videos, doctors footage, all to make his narrative.
Yeah. In one of these news clips, you can see there's like the Chiron or whatever it's called at the bottom, where it says what town it's in. It's not this, but they literally just crop it out. It says like it's in Chicago in the footage, and he's talking about some other town. Just crops that out and shows that footage as if it explains his point.
All to make his narratives of whatever he so-called true. Now you would think that would be it right there. If Tyler's lying in his own response after being called out as a liar, I probably shouldn't even address the rest, but let's go through it honestly. Now, in my original video, I talk about how Tyler brings along these so-called journalists who are really anything but that, and Tyler gives them so much credibility through the video to pretty much say whatever they want, when a lot of it is just baseless and conspiracy theories. Now, I talk about Darren Stahl.
I don't think he goes over it in this one, but another example is when he went to the Twin Cities in Minnesota and was talking to people about George Floyd. There's just this random mailman that he's interviewing, and this mailman is like kind of defending the George Floyd aspect, the worship of George Floyd. And then he talks to some guy who is like the head of the cops union and just takes everything the guy says at his word. He doesn't push back against anything. He's just like, oh, okay. In that same video, he's just talking to some mailman delivering letters. And he's pushing back against this guy for minutes on end. He's very clearly trying to portray a specific message when he does these videos. If he just wouldn't call himself a journalist or unbiased or any of this stuff, wouldn't really be that much of a problem. He'd still be misleading people, but not in the same way.
Cup in Tyler's Oakland video, and I mentioned how Darren is a used car salesman and how he's done a $10,000 GoFundMe scam. Now, I state that Darren raised $10,000 to move out of the Tenderloin. Darren raised the money, moved out of the Tenderloin. So where is the scam? Tyler even points this out in his own response.
Vince attacks Darren for running a GoFundMe where he asks his Twitter followers for money to move out of the Tenderloin. Darren told them what he wanted the money for, used the money for that purpose, and received the money from consensual adults. What is the problem?
Now, this was my bad. I really messed up on this part because I didn't go into more detail of what Darren did with that money. Now, Darren took a couple.
First of all, Vince is admitting that he made a mistake, but his mistake here is that he didn't add enough details. Not that he was really wrong, he just didn't prove his point enough.
$1,000 moved out of the Tenderloin, but rather than refunding the rest of the money back, Darren decided to go on a Rio de Janeiro all-expenses-paid vacation at the expense of all of his GoFundMe fans. Now, people arguably got frustrated over this. People were demanding that he just refund the money back. But Darren said, nope, this was a mental health vacation because
money is spent on moving. Remaining $2,000 is going to be spent on my physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Anybody that has a problem does not understand the chaos and death I have had to endure on a regular basis. I am not a victim, but a survivor. I have PTSD and survivor's guilt. You know what you should do? Just support me. Well, hey, if you had said that in the GoFundMe, wouldn't really be a problem. That's not what you said, though. So you misled people in order to receive donations, and then use those donations for something other than you specified.
Living in the Tenderloin was so stressful. When reporters started reaching out to Darren about this,
And look at this is his
because
mental
living in
health break here. He's going to visit a beach. Oh wow. Yes. Surely that's the only way you could get a break from this. You have to go to Rio de Janeiro beaches in order to get a mental break. And you have to mislead people in order to get the money to go there. It's the only option.
out to Darren about this, saying, hey, this is seems a little bit fraudulent. Darren then started to say that, well, the people who donated to his GoFundMe would love for him to have this experience because the
I had some 2K left over, and after hundreds and hundreds of people begged me to take care of myself, I decided to take a mental health vacation. I bought a $300 ticket to Rio de Janeiro, and some people are happy I am taking care of my physical, mental, and spiritual health, and some people are trying to burn me at the stake. Are they trying to burn you at the stake, or are they mad that you misled them and took donations from them?
Tenderloin is so traumatic to live in. But don't even take my word on this. Darren has said this all over his Twitter. And don't even take Darren's word for it. The San Francisco Standard, a magazine that has 1 million viewers each month, it's been in the New York Times, CNN, and Politico as well. They have an entire article all about Darren and his little shenanigans. Now, they talk about Darren's GoFundMe scam, where he moved out of the Tenderloin, everything I just said previously, and other little shenanigans Darren's done all throughout his life. This isn't the first time Darren's done something just like this. Now, I get why Tyler's gonna ride for the
So I'm assuming this is a text between Darren and Tyler, and Darren says, mentally, I'm not the same. I think about all the faces, the stories, the losses. Maybe I got PTSD, or maybe it's just the anxiety that never lets me sleep. My mind races with what ifs and should haves. I'm human, just like everyone else, yet I feel this crushing weight, this responsibility that I can't shake off. I just want a moment of peace, a chance to breathe without the world collapsing around me. Okay, don't scam people and you'll have a lot less eyes on you.
guy. It's his friend. He wants to defend him. But what's interesting is when
Oh, and also in there, he says he might have PTSD. I think in one of the other ones, he said he does have PTSD. Maybe in that time he got diagnosed? Seems like maybe he's just saying.
I released my original expose about Tyler, Darren reached out to me. And Darren said, well, all of this stuff about the GoFundMe, it's all been retracted by the San Francisco Standard. So I reached out to the San Francisco Standard and they told me that they hadn't
This is regarding the Darren Stallcup GoFundMe $10 situation where he raised money to move out of the Tenderloin. I'm assuming 10K. I can't see the images, but I didn't retract anything.
retracted anything. So if Darren's going to go around after this saying they retracted the statement, just understand the Standard still hasn't retracted that at all. So I don't know how much more to the truth you can get.
Oh, and I should call out, Vince Vintage is telling the truth. This is usually a woman technique, but he has his knee on camera. So that's how you know it's real.
Than that. You know, that was my bad in my original video. I didn't go into more detail of how
Bro, I donated to you. Why change the GoFundMe limit from 6K to 10K after your Fox News appearance? Why set up a third GoFundMe for another 10 after that? Why use the leftover donations to travel? That wasn't what my donations to you were for. Free vacations? So even people who donated are like, no, I'm not cool with this.
Darren scammed. This is who Darren is. This is how he operates. In my eyes, I would say the guy is just a straight up scammer. Now let's talk about the KKK store. Now I mentioned how Tyler went into this KKK store.
Look at I'm pretty sure this is Tyler's merch. It just says news on it. News. All right, man. If you're getting to do that, you gotta be a little less biased. You're just gonna call yourself news. I get it's probably a little tongue in cheek or whatever. Regardless.
He bought these rocks and then he gave them in his next video to the most racist man in America. Now Tyler once again tries to state that this antique store that he goes into is really just an antique store. It's a Civil War museum, and that by me trying to imply anything more, it's like saying that going into a Civil War museum makes you a racist. Now, I actually edited this little section of a video right here with Jay Aubrey, so I'm gonna let him explain the details of it.
The store, Wildman Civil War Surplus, is described in one 2015 article as containing shrines to the Klan to white power, but Tyler seems to leave out that context, instead giving viewers the impression that this was just a normal southern antique store, apparently worthy of his hard-earned money. According to him, it's basically the same as going to a Civil War museum.
This is a Civil War antique store that sells all sorts of artifacts and memorabilia.
We spent a day in Kennesaw and enjoyed Wildman's store. If you're easily offended or a person with sensitivities, I don't believe this store is for you. It's for folks who love history. It includes the underbelly of history. I loved it. Unique in all ways. I think this is a pretty fair review. Like, if I was in that town, I probably would want to check this store out, but I wouldn't buy something and give it to like a famously racist guy who's been interviewed by tons of YouTubers and gotten millions of views talking about how he hates people who aren't white.
From the Civil War time period. It's literally an antique store with a Civil War theming in the deep south of Georgia. I bought rocks, a piece of paper, and a plate with guns on it. It's almost like saying if you pay admission to go to a Civil War museum, you're somehow supporting slavery.
You know, the Civil War museum filled with swastikas, a famous symbol of the Civil War. One glance at the reviews will
Not actually a history museum. They have racist items on display with racial slurs, a noose, and KKK items. Don't recommend to anyone.
tell you it's not so
This is more of a story of a store than a museum, and I recommend that you go if you enjoy viewing racist items. All I can say is wow.
much the historical
If you are a raging racist, then this is the place to meet up with your fellow white supremacists. Bring your own sheet.
institute, its owners
The single most offensive store I have ever seen.
may want you to think it
Just sad and useless. Such an embarrassment to the area and should have permanently closed after the owner's passing. Shame on Kennesaw for allowing this place to exist.
is. It's caused so much
Go back so we can hear what Jay Aubrey says, but I can understand, especially if you lived in the area, you're like, man, this just feeds into all of the stereotypes about this. I hate that this is in our town representing us.
symbol of the Civil War. One glance at the reviews will tell you it's not so much the historical institute its owners may want you to think it is. It's caused so much controversy over the years that it's pushed neighboring businesses to relocate and prompted city council members to resign in protest.
I don't really know what Nazi memorabilia has to deal with the Deep South Civil War history, but I mean, that's just my 2 words for it. Now, my whole point with pointing this out is that this is just a lie of omission. Tyler doesn't state this in the video because clearly he knows it's going to come off as bad. That's why Tyler went into so much detail in this part of the video. But I'll just take it from Tyler's own words. So Tyler went into the store that sells Nazi Ku Klux Klan memorabilia.
Like, we're gonna act like this is just Civil War history, all right? There's no slant store or anything.
Bought these rocks and then gifted them to the most racist man in America. And the gift was in reference to a running joke this racist man had that black people are worth less than rocks.
Me or this white rock right here? Be honest, don't lie to me.
The rock, it serves a purpose.
And Tyler gave him a little thing of rocks. I would just let Tyler's words speak for themselves on that one. Now let's talk about the B-roll thing. Now a big part of my video is talking about how Tyler uses news clips from all around the world and passing them off as being from a particular
Oh, yeah, this is the one I was thinking of. It says Chicago down here. They just cut it off so that they can frame it as if it's in the city they're in.
place, going as far as the even doctor footage, which in its own definition is fake news. Now, Tyler first tried to blame his editor, then he tried to blame his B-roll guy.
Here's the problem. I don't place the B-roll for my videos.
And then Tyler tried to say, well,
I mean, that is just so lame. Just no personal responsibility. If you're the boss, it comes back to you. Blaming your employees is the weakest thing you could possibly do. All right? Man up and own it. Like, that is pathetic. That is truly pathetic. But, oh, no, that wasn't me. That was the guy that I vetted and hired to do these things. Okay, so it's on you, bro.
this really isn't that bad because crime happens here regardless. So, I mean, is it really a big deal? Whether it's from New York or Chicago, the crime is still happening.
Okay, let's take out that shot and replace it with any of these shots. Does the gun crime go away?
And then Tyler tried to say, well,
So if that's the case, why not just be honest about it? If there's so much footage you could use to illustrate your point, why do you have to be misleading and use footage for stuff?
It's not like this was done with any malice or bad intent. And then what's hilarious about all of this is Tyler then tries to say, well, Vince went through all of my videos and this was all that he found, so it's really not a big deal.
Now, Vince just spent the last 4 months going through roughly 2 years worth of my videos, analyzing almost 15 hours worth of my content. What Vince finds is a handful of examples where a given B-roll shot takes place in a different city.
Now, I went through maybe about 8 videos, and I literally picked one video just within the last 30 minutes, the one where Tyler goes to St. Louis, and I found 2 more examples of Tyler doctoring footage in the first 2 minutes of the video. In Tyler's video, I investigated the most dangerous city in America, St. Louis, Missouri. Now, Tyler's talking to a local, and he's saying how many fights break out and how there's some real bad people on the St. Louis Metrolink.
You feel safe out here?
You can't even ride the Metrolink to work.
You can't ride the metro?
No, there's always trouble. Always they rolling weed, smoking and drinking, and there's some bad Metrolinks.
So then Tyler shows this clip of a violent robbery going down in the St. Louis Metro. But this clip isn't of a Metrolink. Hell, it's not even from St. Louis, Missouri. It's from Brooklyn, New York, 3 years ago. But maybe this is just a mistake. I mean, in the original video, Tyler clearly doctored the footage to hide the Manhattan sign right there. I mean, that has to be.
Oh, I think I'm hiding it here. No, and I'm I'm still hiding it with my camera here. Go to the other side over here. It's police department. You can't really make it out there, but it says NYPD here. And he just puts that on the St. Louis video.
Be just a mistake, right? Totally not intentional. But let's just go later on in this video. Now, Tyler's talking to a local and he states how he has been robbed 2 times in the St. Louis Metrolink. Tyler then shows this clip of a guy with a gun getting robbed in the middle of a Metrolink, but this clip isn't even of a Metrolink. Hell, it's not even from St. Louis. It's from Chicago 5 years ago. Like I said before, this is literally in every video Tyler does. Now, the big takeaway here is that if Tyler can't fact check a video at its most basic level, why would you really trust anything the guy says when he calls himself a so-called journalist? But maybe you think the whole B-roll thing isn't that big of a deal. Let's think about it like this. If Tyler was from Russia and he was coming to the United States making the same videos, America, the crime capital, and then using all of these clips from across the world to use it in that video, I think most people would say, that's Russian propaganda. That's definitely some state propaganda to make America seem as horrible as possible. So why is it when Tyler does this consistently throughout nearly all of his videos, it's just not a big deal? Now, what's funny is Tyler often talks about how he's better than the mainstream media, that they often tell lies. Tyler tells the truth. Now, in 2019, ABC was caught doing exactly what Tyler's doing with the fake B-roll. They had the section on Syria, they played this whole montage. One of the clips in that montage was revealed the next day to be from a gun range in Kentucky. Now, ABC came out, they apologized, executives came out and said consequences were met. Donald Trump talked about it at a press conference and all over Twitter. This was an international scandal that really stained ABC's reputation. And what I find funny was what reporters defending ABC tried to say to really minimize the situation. One reporter said, well, the war in Syria is still happening, so what's the big deal? It's not like the war was made up entirely, right? I mean, the war is still going on. Does that sound a little bit familiar? And what's crazy about—
Yeah, just a little bit. So if you want to criticize ABC News for being misleading, well, you have to criticize Tyler Oliveira because he does it way more and is pretty unapologetic about it.
this is Tyler could have came out and said, you know what, we lost your guys' trust, we're never going to do this again, we changed our systems, but Tyler didn't say that. Tyler said this is probably going to happen.
A handful of inaccurate B-roll shots don't invalidate any of the conversations we have, the statistics we show, or the point of a given video, but it is 100% on us that these made it to the finished product. Don't people say there are lies, darn lies, and statistics? So if you're lying or misrepresenting in your video and using statistics, what's that supposed to mean to me, right? You're clearly framing things in a certain way. Ultimately, everything we do is under microscopic examination, and we will most likely make mistakes like this in the future. Really? Okay. Well, I'm glad you've learned. We will be more vigilant to do our best to avoid them, but with the type of content we produce, perfection isn't guaranteed.
Again, and who cares?
And we will probably continue to make a few mistakes going forward.
And I think that just says a lot about what Tyler thinks about his audience. Who cares if he's passing on fake news? I mean, this is literally a disinformation campaign that Tyler's told you himself is probably gonna happen again. That's insane. Now, let's talk about the Jamaica video. Now, I go into detail about how Tyler went to this area in the middle of the night with all these escorts. The tour guide told him that they were selling sex for $15, and Tyler just fabricated this entire situation, that there was a Christian seafood restaurant that was secretly a brothel, and that guys were getting fucked in there for $15. Now, I point out how this whole thing is just absolutely made up, and Tyler even cut this part out in his original video, which I commend him for, because it clearly is just a bold-faced lie. And what's crazy is Tyler even tried to play this off, even though he cut this out of his video, he tried to play it off like, well, when I originally said this, people left really positive reviews on this restaurant.
On the bright side, my viewers only left 5-star reviews and said,
Had an amazing experience at the Pirates restaurant. Just Tyler Oliver. Okay, well, 12 reviews.
Tyler Oliveira sent me here.
So there's a bright side to having a video seen by 7 million people claiming that you're a secret sex brothel when you're really just a family-run business? That's insane.
Yeah, like, imagine thinking that's worth it. You run a family business, and somebody makes a video that gets millions of views and says, "Oh, this place is actually a brothel," and they're supposed to be thankful that they got a couple 5-star meme reviews. Anybody that looks at the reviews is gonna think, "Oh, okay, this doesn't say anything about the food or the restaurant or anything. This doesn't really help them." Like, yeah, maybe if you're looking real quick, you might get tricked, but it is still only 12 reviews anyway.
Insane. Now, Tyler tries to justify what he said, saying, well, the tour guide told me it was $15 for sex, and there was all these escorts, and the lights were on, and da-da-da-da, but at the end of the day, that was not what was going on. Now, this is like Tyler reading about LA having kidnappings gone up 50 million %. Tyler goes to a mall in LA, he sees a toddler and an older man holding hands. Tyler films the thing and says, oh my god, that's a little kid getting kidnapped right now. But most likely, it's just a kid and his dad. And that's the level of narrative building that Tyler's doing here. There is no thought to what Tyler's saying when he's observing and narrating what he's seeing going on around him. And I would say, as a journalist, having the ability to just spin up a story out of absolutely nothing, I would say that's kind of a disturbing characteristic. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Now, the one part I'll give Tyler, the one part that I really screwed up was when I talked about Tyler with the tour guide and the tour guide went missing and Tyler said he felt like he was going to get robbed. Now, I made it a point to say that, no, the tour guide was right there the entire time. Tyler made this whole thing up, but I really thought, you know, who am I to say how Tyler felt in that moment? If Tyler felt vulnerable and scared, then so be it. So I retract that, you know, my mistake on that one. If Tyler really felt scared and vulnerable, then Tyler felt scared and vulnerable. Now, let's talk about the PS5 controller and the TV that was filled with tissues that was put in Tyler's own car to try to bait someone to get in. Now, I point this out in Tyler's Oakland video, and no one had ever known this before I pointed it out. Tyler never said that he was baiting his car. Tyler never said anything about it online. But all of a sudden, when he's confronted with this, Tyler tries to play it off that this was the whole plan from the beginning. Now, when I asked Tyler,
and if that's your plan, you have to admit you're not a documentarian. You're baiting people, right? You're not just observing things, you're setting up conditions to hopefully get the reaction that you want. That's more of like a prank channel than a documentarian or a journalist. But Tyler says this is the equivalent of blaming a woman for getting raped after she wore a dress that was too short outside. You imply a criminal just can't help themselves and has to break into the car the moment they see someone else's property. No. The point is, you're not a documentarian if you're doing this.
About this on Twitter, he first said, this is the equivalent of blaming a woman for getting raped after she wore a dress that was too short.
Shouldn't have read it, my bad.
Outside. You imply a criminal just can't help themselves and has to break into the car the moment they see someone else's property. And then Tyler tried to state, the entire point of the car bait was to see if someone would break in. This is not some secret. I don't even understand your point of contention here. But this whole thing was a secret. Tyler never said anywhere in the video that he was baiting his car to try to get someone to break in. And I wonder why. Oh, because no one broke into the car, and that doesn't play into the narrative. Let's think, Tyler did everything he could to try to get his own car broken into, and he couldn't even do that. And then Tyler withheld that.
But it's also just so silly. Who does this? Who goes and buys a TV or a PlayStation and a controller and just throws it up on the dash? What? Like, I'm not saying if you put it in the trunk or the back seat, you'd be totally safe, but this is just so comically over the top.
Could to try to get his own car broken into, and he couldn't even do that.
I mean, it's as obvious if you ever played that game Mousetrap. It's that obvious.
And then Tyler withheld that from the viewer because it just doesn't play into the narrative. And this is the whole point I'm making. I'm not saying car break-ins don't happen in Oakland and that it's a made-up issue like Tyler wants to imply. I'm saying.
And what's even funnier is that the crime statistics state that in 2023, Oakland reached the highest number of car thefts in more than a decade, with a 44% increase since 2022. But this is part of Vince's argument that he begins to construct that we need to create evidence or falsify B-roll to legitimize the crime that doesn't exist in these cities, according to him.
I agree. My sister lives in Oakland. Car break-ins have gone up. It's a huge issue there. My point is that when Tyler's holding record, he is specifically doing things in these videos, the fake B-roll, doctor footage, manufacturing stunts. Those things are done to fill a specific narrative. Is that more what a journalist would do who's looking for the truth, or more of a propagandist who's trying to sell a certain perspective? Now, in the beginning of Tyler's video, he spends a lot of time going over all of the research he found about me online to try to find any little thing to discredit me. Now, Tyler talks about how I'm this obsessed stalker whose entire Twitter is just dedicated to just harassing Tyler and stalking him.
Vince's entire Twitter account is dedicated to myself and my...
So, because he's going to make this sound crazy the way he describes it. Let's just take a second and look at these tweets that he shows. He's got one here with married. There might have been one before. So we'll say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 there. And he's saying he's obsessed, and his whole timeline is about Tyler Oliveira.
Twitter is just dedicated to just harassing Tyler and stalking him.
Vince's entire Twitter account is dedicated to myself and my channel over the last couple months. Non-stop, my balls in his mouth like an obsessive ex-girlfriend.
Now, how many tweets would it take for someone to be obsessed on Twitter? 50, 60, maybe even 100? Guess how many tweets I've made about Tyler? 5.
Yeah, he says 5 there. I think some of those are like replies, or maybe it's not strictly about Tyler, but you know, I'm happy to round it up to 8, because even then, that obsessed.
I've made 5 tweets about Tyler. 11 tweets in total, if you count the 6 I made promoting my video about him. So in his eyes, I guess 5 tweets is just obsessed to the point of literally almost stalking. Talk about being dramatic. Now, what are these tweets, you might ask? Tweets like this. Well, I could see why Tyler might not like these tweets. They don't paint him in a positive light, and a lot of people like them online, not to toot my own horn. But I think that's why Tyler doesn't like them. End of the day, I just don't think the guy could handle any little bit of criticism and simply tries to paint me out as some Twitter-obsessed, married, psycho stalker loser when I've literally made 5 tweets about the guy. Now, speaking of Twitter, I got a lot of really good criticism from Tyler's audience on there. Now, I had a picture I posted back in October of me getting married, and a lot of Tyler's fans decided to go on this picture and really talk to me about the intricate points in my video and really debate me on them. Let's take a look at some of them. White women throwing away her jeans for some California Indian curry slurper. Everything about this is hideous, especially the pig in white. I live near LA. Enjoyed the divorce. I hope you lost all your shit in the Pasadena fire. How much for that whore? If I see her, can I rape her? You know, just really thoughtful, critical comments about the actual point.
I don't doubt that Tyler has some edgy fans that would say that sort of stuff. I don't think this is really a strong point, because you can make a video about pretty much any YouTuber with a decent following, and you're going to have some fans that say that sort of stuff. Maybe it won't be the same vein of like inflammatory or whatever, but fans of pretty much any YouTuber are going to do that sort of thing, at least a section of them.
In my video people were making here. This is Tyler's audience. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I don't think Tyler makes just horrible videos all around. Back a couple months ago, Tyler made a video where he went to Hawaii, and he talked about how a lot of the natives on the land were kicked out by the government, and they were promised a home and a property. But what happened was all the natives were kicked off, and now that wait list is about 20 years. So a lot of these natives on the island are now homeless in their own thing that they were promised this property and a land. It's a sad story. Tyler talks to all the parties involved, and it's a really good video that did really well for Tyler. But it didn't have the fake news, the fake B-roll, doctoring footage, manufactured stunts, all to amplify the video unnecessarily. So Tyler can make good videos like that, but he's choosing not to, because simply feeding fake narratives, spreading misinformation, conspiracy theories, that pays the bills a little bit better. But let me
Right, and I would think, as he was filming that Hawaii video, he's like, "Oh, hey, this is pretty much all we need. I don't know that we need to zhuzh this up at all. I think we got what we need for the video."
remind you of what Tyler's done.
And also, depending on the timing, maybe he had Vince's critique in his mind. I don't know if the video came before or after, but could be.
Tyler made defamatory statements in his videos that were so bad that he cut them out of his videos, something Tyler's never ever done on his channel before. Tyler uses B-roll from all around the world, doctors the footage to make it fit in a certain narrative that he wants to film. Something that, when the mainstream media did it, it was a huge international scandal. And then in Tyler's whole response to being called out as a liar, Tyler literally doctors more footage to make a point that he couldn't even make. These aren't just like little mistakes right here. These are full-blown out lies that Tyler's broadcasting to millions of people without a care in the world, all to just get clicks and views. It's so crazy to me that somehow asking a journalist to simply just tell the truth and just stop lying is considered this really controversial statement. All I'm asking is for Tyler to just fucking stop lying or stop calling yourself a journalist.
Yeah, that's my thing. He should just stop calling himself a journalist. If this is the stuff he's going to do, change your merch. Having that merch where it just says news and then stuff with this absurd slant and you misrepresent stuff is so lame, man. It really just shows you can't make your points on the merits. You have to misrepresent things in order to get people on board with your point. So if you want to be Joey Salads, keep being Joey Salads. Seems like it's working for you. But if you want to be a journalist, you can't do this stuff.